All right, ladies and gents, welcome back to another John X Mike episode. It's John X Fire here with Mike LaPhoenix. Mikey, how are you doing this week? It's not been too long. You know, a lot of things have happened since last time. Riyadh ended. We had a lot of spicy news. I was chilling out with the guys. They had their Fustaha nights, you know, a little bit of a friendly wager match. I think that's what you'd call it, a little bit of a wager match between like Cuckoo and Armel. That was funny. You know, they had like 1 million pesos on the line. But what's new with you, Mike, before we go on?
I was about to say, well, hold on a minute, Johnny. You've asked me how I'm doing, and suddenly you started telling me how you're doing. I was like, you know, if you do the intro, John, you've got to give me a bit of a pause to tell you how I'm actually doing. I'm doing great, thank you, Jonathan. I've been a little bit sick, you know, been a little bit hectic. Obviously, we were meant to do this podcast episode was meant to happen roughly 7 days ago. Sadly, I got very sick during Riyadh, after Riyadh, whatever you want to call it. Apart from that, though, Jonathan, pretty damn good. How the hell are you doing?
Doing good. Yeah, it's been pretty busy since Riyadh. I think Riyadh itself, the Riyadh Masters, the result probably not too surprising. In fact, it felt like a rehash of just last year. You know. You want to start me already, huh? Yeah. Let's get it going. Riyadh Masters, Game and Gladiators up against Team Liquid once more. It all comes back full circle and kind of sucks. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I love Liquid, I love Gaming. I can't believe we're still getting that matchup.
Yeah, neither can. I mean, you know what? I can believe it, John, because last podcast episode allowed me to already start ranting because you know, something bothered me last episode, Jonathan. That was we got a lot of viewership on our last episode when it came to our YouTube because there was a controversial topic about SEA pros being overpaid. Because their results aren't exactly the best I've ever seen, Jonathan. And long behold, people getting upset, you know, saying, you know, Mike doesn't know what he's talking about. What did I say last episode? I literally said one team will drop out after group stage, the other one's going to start an upper bracket, get knocked down straight away, and then get eliminated. And that's exactly what happened. That's it. That's literally exactly. I just wanted to point it out for the people that hate it. I don't care what you're about to correct me on, John. They got knocked out too damn early. I just don't understand how people are arguing with me about how great these people are. Oh, go on, John.
No, you were on point. Except the other Southeast Asian team started in the lower bracket. so you were on point. You were on point. It was not the best times for Southeast Asia, which was rather unfortunate. It's funny because, you know, after that whole podcasting, people meme, you know, it's just the nature in like the Filipino community to what's the word, chismis, rumor mongering, right? Like Filipinos love to rumor monger. It's like, oh, you know, John and Mike said this, oh, they might not be on good terms with like Armel and Cuckoo. It's like, no, you know, they understand where we're coming from. And to be fair, like you and I think you and I can understand where they're coming from. If these teams are willing to give them 10K with no results, good on them. Right? Like we're not dissing that. It's just at some point expectations have to meet reality. You know, these things have to get way down. So it's like if these players can chase that bag, good on them. We just want the results to back it up as fans. And you know, if they can get the teams to pay them that good on them. But at some point these results have to back up what they're asking for. You know,
of course that's it. Player first. I'm a player first guy, John. I'm not an organization first guy. I'm a player first guy. But like, it's just what you said. There's no results. I literally predicted. In fact, you're right. I didn't even predict it exactly, Jonathan, because it was even worse than what I predicted. So I gave them too much credit, you know, before the tournament even started. So I don't want to hear any of the haters saying that I was wrong. Because I you know, Jonathan, I got to say I'm really wrong when it comes to this stuff. And here we are. Here we are once again. Another crappy result for our region. You know, props to Liquid and Gaming. I mean, I don't even want to, like, how many more times can we make fun of Liquid coming second? John, it looks like my camera's frozen for whatever reason, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. How many times can we make fun of this poor team coming second? You know, it is what it is. They lost to Gaming again. Props to Gaming. Congratulations.
Yeah, I mean, they get away with it. It feels like maybe a bit of a debuff for Team Spirit as well. You know, the prize pool not as big as last time, so they don't get to show up as much as last time as well. Almost feels like, you know, like the stories write themselves. But yeah, I mean, Riyadh Masters, what the most interesting aspect, and is the aspect that we actually didn't see, right? Like, because the trophy, according to all of the video is shown before we go live, right? Like, so technically, Game and Gladiators trophy should have 3 trophies beneath that were crushed. Are they gonna put liquids there, you reckon? Just to really shove it in their face?
I think they did. I think they... Maybe they will, actually. Didn't Quinn already say that? I think he actually said liquid because it would be funny to just crush their key and put it in the trophy. I'm pretty sure. So, yeah, they're definitely putting liquid's key in there for sure, just for the moles. And oh, boy. I mean, look, Riyadh was a very interesting event. I'll be frank, John, I didn't get to watch much of it after we stopped casting because I did end up getting quite sick, so I didn't really have the capacity to just sit there watching for a while. But I mean, it was a bit of a boring result, wasn't it, John? The ending, the finale was, back to the old stuff. It is what it is. Hopefully TI is different, because God forbid we get Liquid versus Game and then TI as well. That would be pretty wild again. But it almost feels like it's about to happen.
Yeah, we'll have to see when TI rolls around, I suppose. A few different teams in there. Format's definitely interesting as well. I think we talked about that format a couple of times before, but group stage 2 days, and then playoffs a few days after, and then the actual TIs again, almost like the finals weekend. So it's going to be interesting to see, especially this very compressed group stage. I think it's going to be interesting. It's a little bit of a change from before, where group stages would be a little bit longer as well. But yeah, so what else has been going on? So before we get into what you were into?
I was gonna
what's
say,
happening?
there's a lot of topics going on. I know you have.
Yeah, before digging into the deep stuff, Mike, into the weeds, we can talk about the fun stuff first. So there was a very recent wager match, right, between Armel and Kuku, right? That was fun. It was not quite the Tagalog versus Bisaya matchup, but I was hanging out with Gabby. It was so funny because, again, they got like some big viewers to back them in setting up these wagers. It's 1 million pesos from each team, and when it happened, Gabby kept saying he shouldn't have invited Akashi. It's like, oh no, Akashi shouldn't have been in here. Should have been Palos. Why is Akashi playing? Because he was with Armel, and I think they were all in on Kuku. So that was pretty funny. But yeah, like the boys, at the very least, those guys, they're finding some ways to make content for themselves, and it's pretty interesting stuff when when they get into that.
I saw your stream go live for that, and like, although I personally would have preferred like actual commentary, like, because I noticed it was kind of like we're just listening to what the boys were saying and whatever.
Yeah.
Like it was. I imagine for a viewer that understands Tagalog, it would have been very funny. For an English viewer like myself who doesn't, it's kind of like, what the hell's going on? Like, what are they saying?
Yeah.
I don't understand. I know the basic swear words, Jonathan. I know to put the tanks in the mall, but I didn't. I don't know the rest of it. So it can be a little bit hard to understand what's going on. But I like the product. I like the idea. I like the idea of kind of putting some money up and just making 2 teams and doing a best of 5. And I just think, if anything, Jonathan, we should probably do a proper commentary kind of duo thing for it, right? Like we should just. Like, you should just tell me, like, Mike, they're going to do it again. It's a best of 5. Just log on. We'll make a proper show out of it. It'll be great. Yeah. The viewers love the trash talk between these Pinoy players anyway. So it's like, let's screw the semantics. Let's screw the organizations. Let's just go straight to the blood of it, which is the players just, kind of giving it to each other.
Yeah, exactly it. Like, it's funny, by game 5, everyone in the chat room forced themselves to speak English. So we had some interesting times there into the game 5. But yeah, they've been making their own content. One comment has been saying 1 TI player and 9 washed players. That was the matchup for Akashi. So that's definitely one of the things going on. But yeah, that's one more lighthearted things to happen. There were some pokes and prods, it's been, they were like, oh, John, why are you dissing us for our salary? I'm like, hey, come on, guys. If you guys can get it good, just get some wins as well, man. Why are you losing? It's like we had some fun. It was fun. But yeah.
I'm glad they can take it. Right. I don't want them to get up. They know we're not that serious about it. It's just, it's a topic to talk about, boys. You'll be right. You're getting paid 10K a month. You'll be fine. You get paid enough to deal with us talking crap about you. My God. Oh, what other? You want to talk about soft topics, John? I'll give you I've got some soft topics.
Okay.
Is there too many double downs going on right now? Like in pub games, is there too many double downs available? Because idiots like me, degenerates like me, lose too much damn MMR on a frequent basis because we just double down too much. And then it feels like and I realize my camera's completely screwed, Jonathan. Don't worry about it. I can't help but notice it feels like there's a lot of account buys. It feels like there's a lot of account boosters in my games in Immortal right now, and it's getting really, really, really annoying because it feels like everyone's just inflated with MMR at the moment.
I'd say MMR inflation's been an issue for a long time, and that's down to no seasonal resets. And this has been an issue for what, maybe 3-4 years. I think the numbers have been going up. The average middle of the road average player rank has been either going up way too much, it feels like, and MMR tokens certainly are part of the problem. I think we have, I mean, I was just looking when you get, you know, the Pathfinder packs, you go through the Cavern Crawl, it's a lot. Like, I was surprised how many I had in my inventory. I'm like, gosh darn, that's a lot of double down tokens, and it's a little bit too much. I think the rapid acceleration up is a problem, and for a good player that just gets unlucky, the rapid deceleration down can also be a huge problem. So it kind of goes both ways. I think the number is a little bit high for what it is right now, so I'm keen on seeing if that's something they'll repeat. I'm sure Valve will have the numbers, and they can kind of decide. I'm surprised we got as much, because we didn't get too much in the old Battle Pass systems, right? You'd only get so many double downs. It feels like a rainfall of double downs right now.
Things like someone just mentioned it in chat, Xenonblood, he said, you know, like, you get 10 coins and then you get another 20 double downs, which I literally just did, by the way, John. I literally logged into the game and literally just took it for free, because why wouldn't I, John? I love doubling down. I'm a gambler's son, but is it too much? Like, every game I feel like I'm just playing with account buys. Every damn game. It's unbelievable. You just can't play a normal game of Dota right now because it just feels like everyone's way too inflated. And then you look on the higher side, it's like, all right, well, now all the pros are hitting 14k now. It's only going to be like a week away till we've got our first 15k player. You know, maybe 2 months away from being our first 20k player, and then what? Like, MMR just means nothing anymore because it's like, well, these 20k players now. You know, it's like, what are you going to do? It feels like Valve, at the very least, have to force calibration again. And when I mean force, I mean don't put a button there that says you can reset. I mean force it.
Yeah, I think a fresh start is necessary, and we'll see if that's something they consider, because that's something the community's been saying for a long time. Mike Phoenix, it's something I think a lot of people have wanted, but we just never get. Yeah.
Shout out to the boys in the chat as well. Capitalist is here, B Cop's here. Shout out to him. He just messaged me the other day, Jonathan. He was a bit upset because his he made a tweet advertising he was going to cast this Chinese tournament, but my reply to his previous tweet got more engagement than his announcement tweet did. So. You're welcome, B Cop. Enjoy the engagement, sir. You gave me a very good laugh this morning. Thank you for that.
What was it? A classic B Cop tweet reply that I saw, Mikey? Was that the one?
Yeah, it was.
Good on you.
You know, worst part was, I was gonna write him a full meme as a reply to that chat, that comment he made, and I was like, well, no, I'm not gonna do that because, you know, it might have been a little bit inappropriate. You know, maybe one for the, you know, just in private with the boys, but it was, you know, it was a good time. Shout out to them. Anyway, speaking of casters, now that they're here, I'm sure they're here for the exact topic you're about to talk about. So go on, Jonathan. Now the pressure's really on. Now you've got the big dogs watching. Capitalist, B-Cop, open your ears, my boys. Jonathan's got something to say. Jonathan, you've got some problems with these gentlemen. Is that correct? What's the problem?
Not with them, but I think what's been happening now is pretty rough for casting, for broadcast in general, which this is a very interesting topic, because I feel like this stems down to, basically it boils down to losing BTS, and I'll explain why. So, you know, I don't know if everyone saw it, but Seek and Strike did make a tweet that ESB would not be providing English broadcast coverage. They gave a form, they gave some guidelines, no monetization. Apparently studio quality broadcast includes changing audio levels is not allowed, Mikey, according to their terms. I don't know how can you find out if someone's changing audio levels? I have our audio split, so I can mute you and Spotify separately, you know, stuff like that. Is that studio level? But yeah, so the gist of it is that Elite League could not sell English broadcast rights. And another tournament as well could not do that in the same time span, which everyone can infer, which it is, could not sell English broadcast rights as well. Let's take it all the way back. Who used to buy English broadcast rights, Mike Phoenix? Not PGL. They wouldn't do anything else but their own tournaments. Not ESL. All they did was DreamHack and ESL. Who would buy third-party broadcast rights?
I'm guessing, is it BTS?
It was always BTS. It was always BTS, right? They would do DPL CDA in English. They would do a whole bunch of third-party tournaments on their own broadcast. And without them gone, I don't know who would buy broadcast rights, because it doesn't make sense for a lot of the TOs to do English production for a tournament that isn't their product. That's not their sponsors. That's not any of their obligations. They have to pay for the broadcast rights. It doesn't make financial sense for them. And so that's one thing as to why I don't think English broadcast rights are going to be bought out anytime soon. But, and maybe my understanding is wrong, but that's what I can see from like where I'm standing. And I think the notion that you can run an $800,000 tournament and not have a broadcast which is universal is also pretty rough, isn't it? Like it's an $800,000 tournament. You could argue, sure, it's being held in Lima. The main sponsor is like from Eastern Europe, so the primary language for their target audience and sponsorships aren't in English. But any English fan then doesn't have like the same kind of stuff that you'd find in a tournament.
All right. So, all right. First of all, let me say, obviously, to the casters in the chat, B-Cop Capitalist, we're joking. You know, you're not about to get picked on. Don't worry. You can relax. Yeah? Sort of, you know, because they might have heard some of my rants in the past. And they might have thought, oh no, MLP's about to start talking absolute garbage. I'm just joking. Anyway, here's how I think about this Elite League stuff. First of all, A100K tournament, like you said, I think I'm going to be pretty upfront. I think it's pretty sad that you can't find proper English coverage and pay casters to offer a product to the Western audience. I just think that's, I don't know, it's a bit weird. You know, it's what are you meant to do? There you go. They have 9 sponsors apparently as well. I don't know. I think it's a little bit sad. I think relying on community casters is, you know, it feels kind of pathetic when you've got 800K as a prize pool. At the same time, and I know there was some controversy between some casters and other casters. There was conversations happening about this topic. I don't think it's necessarily bad for anyone to go ahead and community cast it, as long as they can find a way to monetize it. Because I think if you're doing it for the sake of just doing it for free, you know, it just looks kind of stupid. Because it's like Dota's too old to be fighting for exposure now, right? Yeah. So it's like, if you as an established caster can't monetize it, it just, to me, that's a little bit sad. Because it's like, well, what are you actually doing? Now, if you're a new caster, like if you're MLP and John 6 years ago, who were getting DMCA'd by ESL for covering a tournament that wasn't on Twitch, you know, I don't blame you. Because you're a new caster, you need the exposure. So by all means, go and work for free. Because like I'd do it right now. If I was a new caster, John, I would log on to Twitch right now and do Elite League. I promise you, like without a doubt, whether they're paying me or not. But I don't know. I think on Elite League's part, or ESB or whatever they're called, I think it's kind of sad that they don't actually have coverage for the Western audience. And for the casters that already have big names, I hope they're finding a way to monetize it. Or not even just the casters, the streamers, right?
Yeah.
You make some money off it at the very least. Because if you don't make money off it, then everyone's just getting screwed. Like there's no Western audience, there's no viewership for the Western audience, there's no casters getting paid, nothing's happening. There's just a big TO that's throwing a prize pool out there of 800K with no, I don't know, nothing for it's weird. And then on top of that, let me make it even more dramatic, John. On top of that, I believe you're not allowed to run ads. Am I correct?
So ESB made their announcement right after, and these are the community casters. I specifically applied because I could not find a way to reach out. Our contact in ESB last time gave me one reply and then just never stayed in contact. So I was like, all right, I have to have a proper ask about whether or not you'd at least allow Twitch ads or if you'd allow external monetization. But there are issues with that as well. Like, I think for big streamers, they're always going to make money off of it, you know, because they have the viewership. You go up to 10K, Twitch ads pays out pretty well. You get a bunch of big fans who sub every time as well. So there's money there for, like, the streamers, sure. I think for for smaller, like for smaller followers, like say you and I, which is like a medium following, I guess, you need viewership numbers and you need Twitch ads because you're not going to get that many subs from random viewers. So you need the Twitch ads, and I don't know if the Twitch ads are part of their non-monetization clause, which they do have very specifically. And that's the one thing with ESB as well. In this specific circumstance for Elite League, they don't want it monetized, nor do they want it to be broadcast quality. Studio level, again, adjusting audio levels is counted as studio level broadcast quality. So look, there are a couple of things, there are a couple of ways where I'm with you in that this is actually something you can do to monetize. I think there are two things that has to be met. You have to at least give 1 month heads up that you will not have English broadcast. Have your applications open for that. So there's at least a 1 month lead time where you can actually approach these sponsorships. Because quite frankly, when they announced it, there was like 4 days, maybe less, maybe 3 days. What sponsorship will sign on and say, hey, all right, you got these broadcast rights as a community caster. We're willing to sponsor you, if in a theoretical where Elite League would allow that. 3 days is not enough time for you to settle the paperwork, figure out what KPIs the sponsor wants, what he wants shown, what he's expecting. Is it a titled sponsorship? Do they just want their logo? Do they want, like, say, for a betting sponsor, do they want odds from their site there? Do they want a shout out every like 15 minutes? These are very specific things that sponsorships will want to hammer in, and 3 days is not enough for that. I think if you aren't going to run an English broadcast, you have to let it be known way earlier, so someone else could try to make it work.
All right, let me, I was being quite, I don't know if people noticed, I was keeping my voice lowered and I wasn't being too, over the top because my baby was asleep next door. Turns out she's woken up. So now I can actually kind of talk normally, John. Yeah, listen, I agree with you. I think this is my problem with what ESB is doing, right? I'm going to take one for the team and just say it outright. I don't think you can, I don't understand why you're hosting a tournament and then making it hard for community streamers to make money off it. Like, if you're not going to provide the product, you're either telling the Western audience, we don't care about you, don't watch our product. And if you do want to like go down the cheap free route, which is just, let's let the community streamers do it, or the community casters, or any casters or whatever, let it monetize it. Why are we not, what's the problem with that? I don't understand. What is the issue with it? Why are we putting stupid rules in when they're doing you a favor? They're doing you a favor. They're bringing eyes to you. I just don't get it. Why are we doing that? Why? Like, in that event, like, you're just saying we don't care about your viewers. Like, we just don't care. Like, fair enough. If you got a betting sponsor and then one of your community streamers has an opposing betting sponsor, I understand. I get it. Obviously, your sponsors aren't going to be happy with their sponsors, blah, blah, blah. You get it, right? Like, obviously now you're competing with the mainstream and whatever else. But if johnxmike or Capitalist or BCOP or whoever the hell else, if we decide to turn on our streams and do you a favor of providing the Western audience with coverage of your tournament that you're not providing yourself, then surely I can go to the Twitch settings and press the play ad button for 3 minutes. I just can't comprehend how that's a problem. I really can't.
Yeah, that's the one part that I just find blanket statement that no monetization, and it just makes it tricky. To be fair, to ESB, I don't think, like, well, I'm not sure if this is fair to them, but I don't think anyone's there sitting watching at least 10 community casters to check if they have Twitch ads on. So it's, number one, probably unenforceable unless they actually waste money on having some mod watch every stream to see if there's monetization. And I don't know, it's like, at bare minimum, I think Twitch ads should be allowed. Maybe you make a clause that you can't run it during the game, which is fair, but auto Twitch ad settings do pay out better revenue. It's like, whatever. So sure, turn off the auto ads, do it every time there's a break, and that's okay. There we go. We've got confirmation.
Yeah,
we've got cap running ads. That's good. That's good.
All right. Well, I wasn't going to repeat it vocally. If I, like, it's that's so what I literally told other casters. I'm going to be straight up. Yeah, exactly. I literally told other casters straight up, and you've seen me literally tell them on Discord. Go on and stream it. If it suits you, go stream it and run the damn ads. Just run the ads. If they have a problem with it, they'll message you and tell you, hey, you've broken the rules, don't cast. No more. Yeah. You're banned. Don't do it. Who cares? If you get banned, who cares? You know what I mean? Who gives a shit? Like, they're not hiring Western talent anyway. Like, you got nothing to lose. Who cares? Run the ads. They're like, if that's what they're gonna do, if they're gonna ban you for running Twitch ads, I don't know. So be it. Fuck them. You know, no, like don't cast their tournament.
Yeah,
That's
pretty
what
much. Yeah, that's the bare minimum, I think. So that's one. And again, this is not the only tournament, but there's some comparisons, and I don't know if it's fair to say this. I was already told by the CEO of this tournament that I would be free to say, so I will say it now. The Clavision Snow Ruyi tournament in China has no official English broadcast, but it makes for a very good comparison point, right? So for this one, it is again last minute. It's near impossible to figure out sponsorship directly. They did lay out very specific, very clear lines of communications as what they do expect and do not expect, and I think it's very fair. And I think if someone's not going to run an English broadcast, again, the timing for Clavision is a little bit too close to the launching point, but it's the right idea. All they demand from these free casters, they don't care about monetization. They don't care about anything like that. They just, don't be inappropriate, of course. And the only thing that they include in their clause for monetization is no data API points. So, no partnership. Buy yourself to something like Base, if you could even get that, or another betting site. Just no data pool. And I think that's very, very fair, because that is where the majority of these TOs is. From our experience in BTS, right? You and I used to do Pro Series. Every time there's one dude in there from like Base or something, some third-party tournament that does take these live stats, sells them to websites. And that's a very big money source for these tournaments. So I think that's a very fair clause. Otherwise, they don't care if you run ads. They don't care if you have a sponsor. And it's very interesting, because I think that's the approach. If you are not going to have an English cast whatsoever, it's like, if you're not going to pay anyone, at least let them do something with this to try to make it work on a good quality.
I agree, John. I agree. I don't really have anything else to add to it. I mean, I feel like if I talk any more about this, I'm just going to start getting toxic, it's just weird. It's a weird. I feel like it's just somebody's just overworked themselves. They've just they've just done things that they shouldn't. Like, they didn't need to do. Nobody needed to put these rules in. Just it could have been as simple as, if you want to cast it, cast it. If you don't want to cast it, don't cast it. Nobody cares. It should have been as simple as that. It's not, but it should have been. It is what it is. Anyway, is there anything else you wanted to say about that topic, Jonathan? Apparently you're listed to cast it, John. Are you casting the Elite League? Because I saw a tweet saying you're casting.
I don't know if I will. I really just signed up to ask, and it's a very saturated market. I think I'll let it slide. I'll let the boys have it. I am looking forward to the Chinese one, the Clavision Snow Ruyi. I think it's rather unfortunate for Elite League, to be fair to them. They did lose a lot of teams in that tournament. A lot of teams didn't participate in open qualifiers or closed qualifiers because they were going to Snow Ruyi. So I'm looking forward to Snow Ruyi a little bit more. I don't know if I will do ESB. I think the timings are a little bit tight because the Chinese tournament's in like 2 days, and ESB's timing is like Peru time. It's like somewhat late for us, so it's a harder time zone to keep track of overall. Right. So I'm not sure. Again, I applied just to get a contact. I was not informed I'd have my face on a tweet. I'm like, all right, fine, sure, go ahead. I guess that's consent.
Yeah, it's something. Anyway, I guess we'll move on, Jonathan. Another spicy topic. There's a lot to talk about. Arteezy has officially now announced that he is taking a break. Now, you and I, we heard the rumors in the back. We kind of had an idea this was coming. We couldn't. Last podcast episode, we kind of went over it, but we didn't because it wasn't really announced yet. But Arteezy's he's taking a break, right? So he said in his tweet he's gonna just sit back from SR. Doesn't know what he's doing in that respect, but he's arguably just gonna take an extended break, and then maybe head to EU to make a comeback. Because he doesn't feel like he can improve in NA. I know there's a lot of players and coaches from NA that have gone to Europe that regularly tell him that he should come to Europe. I think even I was watching the Arteezy stream once, and I believe Blitz was there during the Riyadh Masters, kind of talking about how he should just come to Europe because it's just you're kind of just wasting your time at this point in North America when it comes to Dota 2. What do you think about all this, John? I mean, where do you even want to start? Like, how do you feel about Arteezy officially now announcing he's taking a break?
I saw his tweet, and I feel like it was actually a really big step up for him to admit to certain things that I think maybe some fans, hardcore fans, would have recognized in the back. He didn't mention that he wasn't the most focused. You know, he kind of felt demotivated. He kind of lost track of himself in the last few months. And I think it's a very big thing to come out and say, look, I've not been my best. I haven't been feeling it. I think that's big props to him for finding to see that and to step back. Maybe, you know, he had to ride out the season. So this is the best time to do it, right around TI season when the next season will reset. I think it's rather interesting because I would want to see this Europe move for Artur reignite the passion. Because for me, when I look at Arteezy, it almost reminds me of a few things, right? Like, it reminds me of, again, this is, some Filipino fans will take this as a diss, but it reminds me of like Blacklist last year, right? Like where you had all these top tier players, like Carl and T1 for a while when Yopaj was rising, right? Where it felt like he is one of the best, Carl, right? On mid especially. And it just looked like he was maybe getting tired of it, maybe losing some of that fire. So I'd want that fire reignited. I think we're seeing that in some for Filipino pros again, you know? Like, again, I go back to, I think the one example for me right now has been Abat when he returned, right? In those qualifier runs, he did not look like the same player he was like 4 years ago. I saw Armel playing mid in that wager match. He looked bloody amazing. You know, it looked like that fire is back for some of these players. And I want that same thing for Artur because, you know, I want to see the guy win. I want to see the guy win a TI. I think he's a great guy. He's a great guy to talk to. You know, he's a great guy overall. And I think he is one of the players I think everyone wants to root for a win. And it looked like the fire was kind of out for a while. So hopefully this break helps.
But I can completely agree with you on that point as well, because you and I, we've had the pleasure of, I wouldn't say meeting Arteezy, because we don't talk much, because we're shy. At least I'm a shy boy, Jonathan. I don't like introducing myself very much. But we've seen Arteezy quite a lot, and you know, different lands. I must admit, I've looked into the guy's eyes a little bit, and you know, he just looked tired.
Yeah,
he just looked really, really tired. You know, like I can kind of, you know, I think it's relatable. You know, you just been doing the same job for a long time. Yes, it's your passion. Yes, you're one of the best in the world, but you know, everyone's telling you you've passed your peak. You're washed up. You know, everyone's memeing about you. You can't get any teams to work. You're seeing all your friends winning a tournament here and there. You know, Crit leaves, and Falcons. He's part of the best team in the world. You know, he's 1/5 of the best team in the world, and you know, some would argue even more than 1/5, you know, with the way he plays sometimes. It's just, it must be hard on the poor guy to have this dream of just winning TI. Money's not a problem. Fame's not a problem. He's got a beautiful woman as a partner. Like, there's no problems. There's no problems for the poor guy. He just can't win, which is the only thing he probably wants. It's a shitty place to be in. The only thing the guy wants is to win a tournament. And in fairness, it is the hardest tournament of the year. We're talking TI, but you get me, Jonathan. Even just another LAN, you just bring him back just for one first place. But it just doesn't happen. It just hasn't been happening, and I'm glad he's taking a break because he needs a break. I get it. You know, we get it. I just hope he comes back. I hope he goes to Europe because I agree with the sentiment that NA is not the best place if you want to improve. And he himself said he thinks he needs improvement, which I don't think anyone's necessarily going to agree with if he himself is saying it. So I'm glad he's taking a break, John. I hope it's not too long. Maybe a few months, you know, maybe half a year. But I hope he comes back.
Yeah, hopefully so. I mean, he's enjoying it. You know, he's had some Elden Ring streams. I haven't been able to watch because of yours, but I've just been enjoying the thought of him playing through. I think it took him how many attempts to kill either Radon or another boss, and so it's really interesting to see. And hopefully again he gets reignited because everyone wants to see him win. I think on your topic though, kind of switching gears here, like so that does mean Shopify has a new roster somewhat. The Saberlight's back in and Pakaz is in as well. You do get to keep Scam and Yopaj. How do you feel about that? Like Scam and Yopaj staying in Shopify for the time being?
I think for Shopify, it's a smart choice because I think that duo is very underrated. But like, when you look at the roster, I don't know if it's going to work, quite frankly. Like it seems like a new roster that could be really explosive.
Yeah,
it really does. It really does. But I don't know, like, I hate to say this, John, because I like the bloke, but is the drafting going to change or not? Are we going to see Pango first pick every game or not? Like, was it an Arteezy problem? Was he the one making these choices? Now that's the answer I want. Was this an Arteezy problem or was this the coach? Right? Who's first picking your Pango every game? What is it, John?
I have insights into that I don't think it's fair to mention it, but I will say I don't think that
if it's not fair.
In my personal opinion, I don't think drafting is I think drafting will change. I think it's going to be very interesting to see how it adapts.
Okay.
So I think the ideas are different, so I'm keen on seeing that. I will say there is a very funny note because so Skem, this is the reputation Skem has right now, the meme. Skem goes into a team as Pause 5, kicks the one, drags his own boy in, kicks the mid, drags his own boy in. Next thing you know, it's boom / geek fam round 2, so people are memeing, when Arteezy loves, Skem's at it again, mastermind Skem comes in, kicks a big guy. and people are memeing. I mean, Pakaz is a great player, but people are already memeing on Facebook, like Nico, Kuya Force, and Skem have been posting, hey, yes, bring in Natsumi. When's Natsumi coming in, Skem? We know you want Natsumi.
That's brilliant.
Can you imagine if somehow Shopify gets I think the term in the Philippines is budol, fooled, budol, tricked into making a full Filipino stack in Canada.
Okay, so I wasn't aware of this, right? Because again, I just haven't. I've been very sick. So Elite League, what started today or yesterday? It started. Sorry, excuse me. And Shopify are currently at 2-0-2-0 in their series. One series, 2 Invoker picks for Yopaj. Second series, I see a TA and I see a Puck. So chances are those were both offlane Pangos. See, this is what I'm saying, John.
Yeah.
This is what. Just give the boy the heroes he needs to play to carry the team. This is like Yopaj literally carried how many teams in SCA? Like, why are we giving him Pango every game? I just don't get it. I'm happy that they're giving him a bit more, some kind of picks that could actually just carry the game. That's what I like to see. I think Shopify, maybe they're on the right path with this new roster. I don't know. Obviously, I'm going to miss Arteezy, Jonathan. But I think it's good for everyone involved. Shopify needed a new roster, and Arteezy needed the break. So it's very, good news all around thus far.
That it is. I will give a caveat that 1-2 of Shopify was over Mao's, and I'm pretty sure Skem just really knows what Narman and Force want, and I'm pretty sure he knows very well what Immortal Fate looks for in a game. So yeah. I will caveat that. I think Skem is the kryptonite for Force Narman. he knows them too much. They hang out too much. Okay, so that's one thing. But that's a good start for Shopify. Pretty interesting to see what happens down the line. But yeah, that's the memes around right now. Force, I will use this moment as well to just shout out the memes I've seen on Facebook. Do you remember that moment in CDPC last year, Natsumi and Monkey King jumping into a minefield?
Yeah.
For some reason, Skem posted it again. Like 2 days ago, he just tagged Natsumi and posted it again. I'm like, dude, it's been a year. Let the guy go. I have to watch a damn clip and I hear myself yelling, what the F? Like 3 times over at max volume. I'm like, come on, give the guy a break. It's been a year. Let go, Skem. You've got bad. The NA bag. Let it go.
It was really bad.
It was pretty really bad.
Yeah. Oh, well, like I said though, Arteezy, great to see him taking a break. Hopefully he comes back stronger. And what team would he join? I think B Cop asked us, Jonathan, if you were to choose an organization that Arteezy goes to.
Secret.
Secret. Straight up. Puppy's gonna take
it's the Arteezy cycle. It's tradition. He leaves EG, he goes to Secret. It has to happen. Has to happen.
That's a good one. That is actually a good point, because a lot of people have their problems with the current POS 1 of Secret, so it makes kind of sense that that'd be actually pretty cool. Part of me wants to say Liquid, and I know it's sad to think that the squad would kick out someone like Mickey, who's been around for the longest of times, but I don't know, you hear the way Blitz and Arteezy talk to each other on stream, and it's like, I don't know, it almost feels like Blitz is just saying, listen, you let me know, I gotcha, you can come anytime. That's honestly what it sounds like to me, it's just, I don't know. I'd love to see it too. That'd be a very, very cool roster for him to be a part of. I mean, not to undermine any kind of achievements from anyone from Liquid, because obviously, again, all the players are fantastic, but it would be a very interesting kind of switch up.
It would be. I still think the cycle must continue. But Arteezy must go back to Secret. It is as it is written. He is our Muad'Dib. This is the prophecy. He must go back to Secret now. Puppy must take him. It must happen. And then we must get S4 and Kuro into Secret again. We must run it back. Put Arteezy on mid. Bring Eternal Envy back. He's been posting about going back to school. Screw that. Come back and play Eternal Envy.
I thought for a second. You just brought that up. It just rung a bell. What is going on with that man? Because I don't know. Bit of context. I enjoy trading as well a little bit, right? So I know the memes around. I know the Wall Street bet memes and all that crap. But like, is Envy broke or not? That's I mean.
I'm not sure.
He's posting saying he's losing 50k in one trade. Like, Envy, what are you doing? What are you doing, Envy?
See, so the first time he tweeted, that he's giving up on day trading, he went on the Reddit thread on our Dota 2 and said, "I'm just memeing, guys." It's like, okay. And then he goes on to post more stuff on Twitter. I'm like, is he memeing? Is he actually? Because it's Eternal Envy. I can never tell when Jackie Mao is like memeing hard or actually going through shit. Like, I don't know.
But then he posted, like, he was saying he was broke, and then he posted a receipt of I guess I'll shout him out,
$1,600.
Jacobs and Co Steakhouse on 12 Brant Street, Toronto, Ontario, which is not a very popular city right now for a multitude of reasons. But he paid $840 for a Hokkaido 20-ounce ribeye, which sounds delicious, by the way, Envy. Glad you were able to afford that Hokkaido ribeye on while you're broke. I imagine he must be memeing. I was kind of worried about the guy, I'll be honest with you. Like, you and I, we don't know him personally, but we've casted a few of his games. We've made plenty of fun of the guy. It's we have some weird connection with the guy now. We care about him. We don't want to hurt. We don't want him to get hurt. I hope he was just memeing.
I hope so too. I mean, I know like some of the tweets are definitely memes, like him posting the McDonald's job application form saying it's time. Definitely a meme. But that's the thing with Envy. He is such an enigma. It's like his plays. You don't know. It's like his plays. Yeah. You don't know if this is genius or outright he doesn't know what he's doing. It's like remember his time in Fnatic? He was a Monkey King, and he was jumping around like 5 minutes before Simeon Stride was a thing. If he was playing now, Envy would be a god. He'd be up in the tree sniping people early on. He was just 6 years early, Mike. Envy was a revolutionary.
He was just way, way, way too early, that guy. It's just nobody understood the technology he was trying to provide us with. It's like trying to introduce the internet to someone in the 1800s. It's like, what do you mean the internet? Electricity. What are you talking about? That's what Envy was doing. He was trying to educate the boys, but nobody was really paying attention. Anyway, good to hear. It probably is just memeing, Jonathan. That's good news. What else have you got to talk about? So give it to me. What else has happened?
Gosh, what has been happening?
I do have some controversial topics. I don't know if I should bring this up, but you know what? I will, because I'm a controversial person, Jonathan. So I don't think anyone else is ever going to talk about this, because it's a very dangerous topic in my eyes because of the current landscape of things. However, I couldn't help but notice earlier I was complaining about too many double downs and too many account buys and too many account boosters and whatever else in my pubs. And this is around Immortal rank. Mind you, I have dropped about 1,000 MMR thanks to doubling down too much. So, it's like maybe Divine 3 at this point. But you get my point. It's high enough, right? So I've noticed that it's not just Southeast Asian players in Southeast Asia anymore. It seems to be like there's a lot of players from China that have come in and started playing in pubs. Now, the reason why I bring up this topic is not because I don't like playing with people from China. They're fantastic. It's perfectly fine happy to play with whoever, Jonathan, right? My issue is it feels like it's become... SCA pubs were already very toxic. Yeah. Like, they were already really bad, right? On the scale of toxicity, like we're talking, things get pretty bad sometimes. But now it feels like every other game is. I'm seeing war references. I'm seeing racism references. I'm seeing, you know, I guess I don't want to say any countries' names, but I'm seeing a lot of references, right? What do you think about that? Like, have you encountered it a lot, Jonathan? Do you have any
it's
thoughts?
Not new.
Because I know it's not new, but it's gotten to a point now where every single game, it feels like it's getting a little bit out of control with the things that are being said.
No, this has been going on for at least a year, maybe 2 years now. Southeast Asia has been. It boils down to the fact that the Chinese server is kind of dead in matchmaking at all levels. You know, like let's face it. Again, this is going back to what we used to talk about. But Dota 2 is not a growing esport. It's stagnant in terms of player base, if not shrinking by slight amounts. I think it's you get a different rotation of old players coming back in. You don't get new players. And especially in a place like China, which is very in touch with trends in gaming. Like, they're very big on mobile gaming right now. I know Valorant's really a big thing in China, actually, when I think about it. Maybe not as much as you'd expect. League has always been stronger. Dota's been stronger. I'm not sure about League standing in China, but mobile games are all the thing. So anyone that plays MOBAs nowadays is just on their phone. And that, again, just leads to shrinking server population they come to see. I don't think it's anything different right now from what I've seen. It's always been bad. Southeast Asians have always been bad. You get Filipino versus Indonesian stack. They're going to shit talk each other, and they're not even going to understand each other. You know? And I think...
Well, let me go.
Yeah.
Allow me to go a little bit further.
Okay.
It does impact I want to say the quality of the game has been impacted. At least from my experience in SCA pubs. I feel like when the pubs were mostly players from the region, it felt very different to what it does now. Because a lot of the players that I have on my sides, I can't communicate with. You know? They're playing in a way that's very strange to me.
Yep.
A lot of them seem like they're account buyers. I'm going to be quite frank with you with the way that they're playing the game. And now, if it affects the quality of the game, my question to you is, do you region lock servers? Because...
I think... I mean, you can't. That's the thing. I don't think you can. China's already naturally region locked because of the firewall. So these are players bypassing that soft region lock already by using a VPN, right? So that's already bypassing this regional lock. Unless Valve implements something very deep in that forces their client to never search for anything else, I don't think you can really enforce it. And again, at the same time, if you region lock China, the game is really going to die there. Like the scant players they have just won't play anymore. So that will just remove everything. The pro players will still be there, but anyone actually trying to grind is just done for. So I don't think you can feasibly do it. I think game quality when these stacks have been, look, I've noticed this for like at least 2-3 years. It's been an issue for that long. I think it's just maybe a symptom of double down more than anything else, a symptom of rank inflation more than anything else, because I don't think it's gotten any worse in recent time. I think maybe it's just more noticeable at your level, but it's been there, especially in 5-man. I think 5-man's at its worst when you're kind of dealing with this, because the crowd you get in 5-man Dota is very, very different. For the people I play with, they kind of want to chill. It's very mixed MMR. When we end up, when we see like a 5-stack Chinese, we know we're either in for a very clowny game with them, where we're both just kind of effing around, or we're in for the hardest, try-hardiest stack of guys that will shit talk us in Chinese afterwards. It's like, it's either or. I think the one thing that this has done is it has turned the Southeast Asian Dota community to unite. Because when you are in, like, when I solo play and I'm with like Indonesians, Filipinos, and then you're up against a, it becomes very focused. What happens there? It's still bad, but it's, in a way, it's heartwarming. All these crazy Southeast Asian toxic players are united against one.
It really, it's really strangely heartwarming. It really is, because it does actually, and I know this is going to sound super bad, but it does get kind of wholesome in some way. Because the thing is, the players from China, they stick with each other. You know, they're always backing up each other, which is fair enough. I understand it, the patriotism, whatever. I get it, right? But then, yeah, the Southeast Asian players, whether they're Indonesians, Pinoys, or Thais or Vietnamese, they're all banding together now and going against the players from. It's just ridiculous. It's just such a ridiculous, I guess, chemistry going on in C-pubs at the moment. It gets even funnier when you load into a game, and there's always one guy that says, "Hey, those players are from here. We're doubling down. 100%. They've got more players from this region than we do. That means we can double down. It's a guaranteed win." And that's like to me, that's like part of the funniest thing, because you'll see your whole team just suddenly double down as soon as they see the player name in a different language. You know, it's funny, but I just don't know. Like I guess it's fine. It's been interesting, I want to say, because it just feels like there's a lot of account boosters all of a sudden. It feels like the influx is massive.
It is, and it's funny because it's so weird, because in a way, Dota is a microcosm for what's happening regionally in Southeast Asia. Because Southeast Asia is also, we all kind of mildly hate each other. There was Mafil Indo, you had the riots in the 60s in Singapore, the shadow war between Indonesia and Malaysia. You know what? None of it matters now. We're all united for one very common reason. So it's interesting that is also reflecting in Dota. It's just funny. I have no comments about any of that, but it's just funny that we're seeing that in Dota. It's like everyone just, it's just so messed up. Like even like I two-man and then we queue in, and then the enemy team has like one player from China, and the rest of his team, and they will, if the Chinese guy starts to insult, they will double down on him. They start going back at this guy. It's like, holy crap. It's just like, it's like, I know you don't experience it, but it's like having Alphon playing CS, because that man is a toxic, crazy guy. It's like having him in a CS match, but in Dota every time by other people. It's like, it's insane. I love Alphon, by the way. His toxicity is hilarious. He gets a little anecdote. We were playing CS. It was Dust 2. Alphon was the last one alive, but before the camera switched to him, I think it was on. There was one more player alive. Like some Russian dude was alive, right? We were playing. I don't know. Like there was a Russian and Chinese. So the Russian guy dies. This other player question marks, because I think he's watching Alphon, like just kind of watching an angle on Catwalk. And then he question mark. I think he was talking to Alphon. The Russian thinks it was him, and then they both start fighting. And that's exactly how C-pubs feel right now, all because of Alphon. Like it's like Alpha. I don't know. It's like, I can't explain it, but it's him. It's him. My pubs are him.
Amazing. Thank you for that, John. Well, there you go. SCA pubs are in shambles. I mean, in fairness, it feels like every region's kind of combining at the moment, right? Like NA and EU are kind of together, and then you've always had the CIS region that play in Europe and whatever else. So I guess in actuality, there are, well, what is this question that's been asked a billion times? 40k USD.
That was the wager match. Yeah, that's the way we talked about it earlier, Duncan. You can scroll back on the YouTube or check it out later. But we did gloss over it. It was fun. Props to Armel and Akashi. Unfortunate for Gabby for inviting Akashi as well. Should have taken Palos, sir.
But I wonder how much the boys would be interested in us like making an actual product out of that. You know what I mean? Because it feels like I've always felt like the SCA region has so many things you can offer, and nobody does it. It's kind of like, this is one of those things where it's like they're playing anyway. There is money on the line, and for a fact people would watch. If they feel like there is an actual best of 5 with money on the line and the players are trying their hardest to actually win, people would watch. So I wonder how open they would be to us just actually making a proper piece of content out of it. Maybe actually casting it professionally for a few days or whatever. And I've even been thinking, about like doing tournaments again in the SCA region that were kind of a like Pro Series. Yeah. 50k or 100k prize pools. I get turned off a little bit because of these kind of tournaments tend to have a lot of match fixing and stuff that happens, and I just don't want to deal with that kind of crap. But these kind of Pustahan nights, as they call it, Jonathan, I like it. I like the idea.
Yeah. I think next time around they do it, I'll try to tell them, give me more than days heads up so I can bring Mike, That literally Armel messaged me same day. He was like, hey John, are you free at 7? I'm like, yeah, why? Oh, we have a match going. It's like, all right.
It depends how comfortable they are, like, because like someone just kind of posted, Gabby made 16k viewers from that night, and it's like, okay, well, how willing are they to, leak some viewers to us? Yeah, because it's like that will inevitably happen, right? If there's a professional cast, some people are going to prefer to watch the pro cast over what the pro players are saying, and then you've got the opposite. So it's
no, I think the best arrangement's that we cast together, and then Gabby they could watch our cast, because it's not an official broadcast of a tournament. They're perfectly fine just taking our stream.
Of course.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to work. You can watch the boys talking shit. If you want the professional one, you can head to us, but still watch us. If you watch both.
If we could get a feed, right? Like if we could be in like a channel with the boys and we could hear both sides, and we just mute them, but when we want to like hear what they're having to say, it's kind of like an ESL thing or a they check in to see what's being said. We could kind of do that.
That is possible.
There's a lot of downtime in casts, and that's how you and I are pretty famous for being able to talk absolute rubbish for hours on end. But like in actuality, at some point we do get kind of sick of talking rubbish on end for hours. So it's like, if you could just tune in and be like, yeah, what Cuckoo just messed up and fed first blood, what did he say? It'd be kind of nice to go back and listen in, and just you can translate directly because they're Filipinos, and I think there's a product there to be had. Almost, it does feel like people would tune in if it was made, like the production was good enough. Which I'm going to be frank with you, John, I haven't done production in a long time, but seeing the production from some of these organizations, I'm pretty sure I could just do a better job. So it is what it is. I can say that with absolute confidence too, because I've done it for years on end. So it's one man with his PC, I'm pretty sure I can make it look better than most tournaments are right now. Yeah, remotely anyway.
Yeah, I feel like I'm, not to humble brag, I feel like I've already done a much better job than some of the product out there. This stream deck that you gave me really helps out in that. But yeah, it would be fun. Next time, I'll contact Boss Armel. We'll get on it. We'll have something happening. I'm sure everyone's unemployed until the international ends, so they have a lot of time for content, Mikey. They have a lot of time. We should have something. We should have something for sure.
Excellent. I do intend on trying to get some more content out. It feels like things are a little bit quiet in the SCA region. Things have been a little bit quiet, haven't they? There's not quite as much excitement, and I guess the teams haven't been performing that well, so nobody's really talking about the region that much. I want to go back to the good times where people were actually like, oh, look at this SCA team. They might do something this tournament. Yeah. So they're actually kind of scary. It was people kind of like to meme about it, but you remember when Yatoro said, made that meme where he was asking who Boom Esports were? That was his acknowledgement. He's saying, you're worthy of me trash talking you now. Obviously, he knows who they are. I'm going to start trash talking you because it's fun, because you're actually worthy of, like, I'm not just bullying you. But now it just feels like it's not work, it's just...
Yeah, now it's just punching down, almost.
Yeah.
It's a bit rough. Who knows, maybe TI is better, but I guess we'll see. I do miss that time. Yeah.
Honestly, I feel like talent being there is already a lot better. I like this.
I agree.
I like this new squad a lot. I feel like they've got like good energy. Like they want to win. It's even Parlay Dai, he just looks like he doesn't mess around, that man. He looks like a chill guy, but he looks like that kind of guy that doesn't like to see imperfection, which I can appreciate.
And again, I think Talon's a very unique circumstance in that, in as much as they didn't make it to a lot of lands with Chuen was necessary for the growth of the players. And I really want to take every opportunity possible to shout him out, because he did do a lot of work. Like, the only reason I think Talon's working now, outside of Mikado being a great player, you have to understand, and you and I have seen old Talon before, Mikado is a quiet guy. He doesn't actively make calls. He doesn't actively, he's not the most communicative. I mean, he does when necessary, but he's a very soft-spoken guy. I think what brought out this talkativeness on Talon's roster was Chuen, and that bled over onto Akashi and Ponyo, I believe, right? So they've kind of taken up that role with Chuen gone, and I think it would not have happened if Chuen wasn't there. So I think in all of its ups and downs for Old Talon, Chuen was always like a very good pickup. But I'm keen on seeing what they do. Again, like how they fare in TI. A lot of your players are still unproven. WS just turned 19 like a few months ago after qualifying. Akashi, this is like his second LAN. If you not counting like IESF and stuff like that, and Acer Predator. Like this is his second big LAN, so it's like it's a lot of firsts there.
Oh, I want to say as well, like, you know, someone just Shun Chun said it in chat, but I think Akashi's got that he's got that energy for me. Like it's kind of like that Yopaj energy where it's like you know this kid's gonna be good. You know, like he just needs a bit of time, but you know it's coming. Like there's gonna be a year or two where it's like I had the same thing about 23 Savage back when he was still new and we were casting Jinus Bros, and you know, there's players where you can feel like there's a lot of potential and they're gonna do really well at some point. They just need to stay on the right path and don't get into dumb stuff. You know, you always joke about Akasha getting involved with the other, you know, with the TNC boys, and you know, not picking up any habits. You know, I sure hope he remains innocent. You know, don't go to the casinos, Akash. Akashi, stay home. Be a good boy.
Nah, he's a good boy. I think we've had a talk. Actually, he's fairly close to Cuckoo. Apparently, we were having that conversation.
Christ.
No, but as a mentorship thing. Again, it's not like an old thing. I think it's a very recent thing, and I think that's it's a good sign, because I've noticed this with Cuckoo as well, right? Like a lot of the players have matured. I think even to an extent, Gabby has managed to, you know, there's always more room, but even Gabby's kind of matured in a way that he can take jokes better. He's a little bit more after getting nailed a little bit. He's a little bit more understanding of where the line is, and there's been a growth process for a lot of Filipino boys. I think actually, I was again in the wager match. The way Akashi was playing looked even better than when he played in TI qualifiers, which was kind of nuts to me. Like he was hyper aggressive. He was playing like a Marcy with Io. Sure, it's Marcy Io, but the way he pushed it to the limits was just kind of insane. So I'm looking forward. And again, WS is just a monster. That kid is an actual bloody monster. And I hope he doesn't leave. I hope none of these players... I feel like they're good, but you want them to stew for at least one more year, and then, you know, if it doesn't work, okay. I think you want them to stew. You know, you want that cooking process. It takes time to really cook something good.
I think that's the difference between players like that try to secure the bag early versus players like ATF, for example, where they have confidence in themselves to actually be able to win TI or win Riyadh one day. Like they don't care about, I'm going to earn 20k a month and, you know, live the lavish lifestyle. Like it's like ATF knows, I want to join the best team and win. That's what he wants. He doesn't, I guarantee you ATF probably doesn't even want the salary. If you said, hey, I've got this great team, just come play. Let's just go win. I guarantee he'd probably join the team and just win. You know, that's what I'm hoping for with these this new blood that Talon appears to have picked up. You know, WS Akashi, the rest of the boys. You know, just don't chase the bag. Chase a good roster is what you want. Yeah. You know, because your value only goes up. It's like when Toronto Tokyo left Spirit. It's like, okay, I see what he's doing. I see that he wants to be competitive. But your value was with being in the good roster rather than like trying to be the main character. It's okay to not be the main character. You know, I if we're gonna use that example, I want to say Yatoro was the main character. It's cool being the Sasuke to his Naruto. If you catch my drift, Jonathan.
Yeah. Who's Yatoro again? I only know this guy called Radon. I'm not sure who Yatoro is. Actually, I think he got kicked. For this Radon kid, he seems pretty good. I don't know who you're talking about, but you know, I guess you want a TI. But this Radon kid, you know,
Radon kid's crazy, dude.
Oh, he's crazy. It's crazy. God, these name changes. It just reminds me of, again, that time when all of Polaris changed. Like you had Boomy turn into Xavius, CML turned into Mavis, Nico turned into Force, Mac turned into Lelouch, and Natsumi stayed as Natsumi because he's a nerd. That was fun. Remember Fearless became Gotcha Boy?
Gotcha Boy, yeah.
Jackie turned into Jack Boys.
Yeah, that was great, wasn't it? I remember telling him, like, you're an idiot. Like, why did you change it to Jack Boys? Like, what a stupid thing to do.
I love Fearless though. Like the way Fearless would say Gotcha Boy. It's just so emphatic. Like he played too much Gotcha. He is Gotcha Boy.
He's Gotcha Boy. He's playing Maple Story every day, John. It's crazy. Anyway, moving on, Jonathan. I wanted to point this out as well. I've noticed on YouTube recently, I've been seeing a lot more Dota 2 content, I want to say, which is very intriguing because I wouldn't have expected it had you told me this was going to happen a couple years ago. But it does appear that a lot of new creators for Dota 2 have popped up, as far as I've been seeing, unless maybe the algorithm's just not been kind to me and not giving me the Dota 2 creators for whatever reason. But it seems like rather than your usual... geez, I'm going to sound really horrible because I can barely remember any of the names because I try not to watch YouTube that much. But, you know, apart from BSJ, Jenkins, Speed, you know, your D2 Bowie, Slasher, like... Slasher, whatever, right? Like, apart from the oldies, the guys that have been around for quite a while, like I have been noticing a lot of newer blood in the space. Even, you know, I guess I'll shout out the boys. Even Cap and SVG with their podcast, they got picked up by Tundra, and it's very good stuff. Jonathan, is what I'm trying to say. But what do you think about, like, how did this happen? What's stemming people to suddenly be like, oh, I'm gonna make Dota 2 content?
I'm curious who, because I only know one relatively new name outside of like Kezu, like established names that are just building up their Dota brand. The only one I'm really fully aware of is like Dato Leong, and his content's pretty good. It's very like fun, I think. But he's the only new one that I'm aware of. Like meme creators, I haven't seen as much. You know, we used to get a lot of Mid or Meepo stuff. He has a job. Mike Mavo has a job now as well. They've gone pro in like creating content, so they're not focused as much on their own.
Well, how long has Zekwatox been around? Like that's an example. Like he's a name that I just hadn't heard of till Ricky kind of pointed out that he was in a cast.
He was around for a little while, I think.
Okay.
He was on for a while. Right. I'm not sure how long, but
so maybe it's just me.
Yeah, I think it's been good in that we at least have some new content creators. Again, like Dato Leong is the big one in Southeast Asia, is relatively new. Quixotic does a lot of really good analytical work. You have Kezu kind of shifting into the space, but I feel like this content creation is great. I'm not dissing it, but what I personally miss in content creation is stuff like Shit Tier Digest from Nigma, stuff like Big Plays Inc. When Ability Draft was new, everyone was memeing about Jug just spinning nonstop. It's I feel like the heart and soul of a community is its memes, not its knowledge. And I think knowledge is a very, very important base to get people to be access in Dota. What makes them want to play Dota is meme content. And in that sense, like the only memes we've had is like this Smurf guy, this guy who Smurfs on like all the way down to Archon as a Divine player or Crusader actually, and he dunks on them with stupid builds. It's like, sure, it's funny, but you're dunking on Crusaders. That's not really the meme content I'm here for, you know? It's like,
oh, I was gonna say maybe call them out, but then maybe don't, because you don't want people actually...
Everyone knows who they are. I just forget their name because it's not even worth remembering. But I remember it is also a very Southeast Asian thing. But I think that's the content creation I miss. It's just memes, you know? It's like, we don't have much of it left, you know? We used to, I don't know, it's just that era of Dota is what I miss a lot. Big Plays Inc., Shit Tier Digest, that's what made me play. You know, I would play just to see these funny moments, and I feel like I think it's just the nature of competitive multiplayer games. You lose that audience over time. You end up with pretty sweaty people, the casual audience that, you know, even high skill casual or low skill, they just leave because they don't want to sweat. They want to have fun. So I think that is something that could use reinvigorating. I don't know how, but if there's anyone out there that has been memeing around their games, there's a market there. I would watch it. 100%.
I mean, that is a good point, because I mean, I was just complimenting how many creators there seem to be. There seems to be a lot of creators that are just kind of recycling content or just doing kind of unethical stuff as well. You just pointed out the fact that there's a bunch of YouTube creators that tend to just de-rank their account long enough that they're just smurfing and they just run the
they don't even de-rank. They actually smurf.
Just buy accounts.
That one meme guy. Yeah. I forget who.
Okay. Is it Rizpol?
Yeah, I think it's Rizpol. Yeah.
Is that his name? Rizpol? Yeah. Okay. I think there's a few of them. I think there's quite a few of them, actually, because I've seen quite a few different ones. Though I do agree with your point. Like it's kind of, while it is kind of funny the first few times, when you realize he's just smurfing and it's kind
of sad.
it's kind of cringy. It's like, come on, bruh. Like, it's not, it's
Yeah.
it is very cringy. And then you've got I don't want to be really critical, right? This could get me in trouble, but there's what do you call these guys? The guys that do highlights, like not Noob from UA. I want to not include because he's been doing ESL content. I want to say so. He kind of works, I think, for EFG Group or ESL now. I think I want to say that.
Yeah.
The one I was thinking about in particular was like I think his name was Holy Hexor. I used to love watching his content. I used to love watching. I used to actually think to myself, man, one day hopefully I could be on his videos. Like, it'd be really cool because he's it seems like the editing's really nice or whatever. But then you start to realize all the content's just recycled every single day. It's just the same crap over and over again. Like top highlights from this hero and the best Earthshakers in the world and the best plays from Jerax. And it's like, all right, well, we've seen this like 49 times now. Like, what what's the like? Surely Jerax hasn't made any more plays since he retired. Like, I just don't. I don't know. Like, what do you think about that? Like, it feels like there's a lot of recycled rubbish on some of the channels.
Yeah, there is. And I mean, I can't honestly blame the content creators as well, quite frankly. Especially if they're doing it full-time, which, some people, like, I believe Holy Hexer does do it full-time. So it's just how it is in YouTube's algorithm, especially if you have a high following. It's one way to build up, quantity over quality. And it's not a great look, but I can't fault them. At the same time, I don't personally like it. I just kind of ignore everything like that. I look maybe for a couple of tournament highlights, but I don't really look for like, oh, top plays from this. It's like, it's just gonna be stuff I saw before. Yeah, it's like it is a problem, but it's like it's a YouTube problem.
Is it? It might just be a world problem, quite frankly, John, because it feels like everyone's just spamming out content for the sake of spamming them out, aren't they? Like, it's. Geez, I don't want to take this outside of the context of Dota 2, but I couldn't help but notice my wife watches these families on Instagram and TikTok and all that crap, and I just, every time I overhear it, I just think that's the weirdest, like, saddest thing I could imagine doing to my family. Like, I'm gonna pull out a camera and I'm gonna follow them around and show the world what my kids are doing and what my wife's doing, and we're gonna act as if we're all this one happy family, but in reality, most of them it's all fake, and a lot there's a lot of abuse that happens in the background and stuff, and it's just, maybe it is just the way the world works now. It's just we're in this kind of system where it's just, you just got to keep pumping crap out, and it's just, it gets worse, and it just gets stinkier and stinkier, but we just keep eating it. Like, we're just, this is great. We love content.
We love our slop. I think it's kind of sad. I don't know why people still follow these like family influencers. There has been so many times these family influencers were called out for what they are: renting property that they claim to have bought, getting bankruptcies from all of these kinds of lavish purchases for content. It's just dumb. It's just so dumb. I know.
On that topic, I'm going to bring up a topic that I don't think you want to talk about, but I'm going to talk about, because the topic hasn't stopped, right? And I feel very passionate about this, especially considering I have a kid, right?
Yeah.
So someone you and I both really enjoyed the content of was the Dr. Disrespect, who got called out for being, for messaging a minor, which obviously, absolutely disgusting stuff. There's no two ways about that. So, fuck him and fuck his content, because pedophilia is, like, in my opinion, the most disgusting possible thing you can ever do, because the victim is a fucking kid, right? Yeah. So it's pretty disgusting stuff, no matter who you are and how big of a fan you are. Couldn't help but notice, though, we had the Mr. Beast's friend, Chris, I believe she calls herself. That came out as well. I don't know if you saw that. What I'm trying to say is, it feels like there's a lot of pedophilia going on right now. Am I wrong? Like, especially in this internet space? Even like, I couldn't help but notice the Drake versus Kendrick beef. There was some pedophilia comments being made. What's going on, John? And apologies if this gives anyone any kind of PTSD or something. Please, do shut off if this is uncomfortable. Completely understand. But is this an internet issue or what? Well, what's going on?
I don't know. I legitimately don't know. I feel like, I feel like the internet has become a place where it's much easier to out people like that. It's much more traceable. People are, there's a lot more breadcrumbs to lead you to outing these people. I think there's a lot. I don't know. It's just that it gets more highlighted in the internet, so it feels like there's a lot, I guess. Especially with all of these people being in places of influence, you know, high-ranking, socially high-ranking, very popular people. I think it just gets amplified even more. I don't think there's a pedophilia scare, if that's what you're asking, but there's just a lot that probably would have stayed closeted or hidden away for a long time if not for the internet. So the internet in that way has been positive. It's also been the way they've kind of attacked some, so it's like a very double-edged sword. In that, yes, it's much more traceable to find these people. On the other hand, it's also very easy for them to access people who probably shouldn't be online. Probably should be under a much more strict internet usage in the first place as well.
I gotta tell you, John, as a parent, man, it's scary. It's really scary to see this shit. And what's even scarier is the people that are trying to act as if it's not, like, the people that are choosing which pedophiles they like and which ones they hate. Like, it's so weird to me that people have an inability to say fuck this person if they're doing something that revolting. Like, I know there was a big divide between people that were fans of Dr. Disrespect versus people that were fans of Ava Chris Tyson. I don't know. I don't watch Mr. Beast, but it was really sad to me to see the comments being made and the avoidance of the topic from people that initially called out Dr. Disrespect, and so they should. Because fuck you if you message a minor. There's no two ways about it. But why not call it out when it happens to somebody else? You know, like, it just feels really yucky because we're in this really politically motivated sphere, it feels like right now, where everyone's just picking their fucking side of left or right, and no matter what anyone does, as long as they're on my political side, I'm okay. I'm okay with it as long as if I'm on the right, as long as you're on the right. Do whatever the fuck you want. If I'm on the left, as long as you're on the left, do whatever you want. That's what it feels like we're in now, John. And it feels really, really weird. And really weird. Like, just too weird, right? Because it's like, in what world are people choosing one pedophile over another? The only choice is what gun to use when you shoot him. That's it. There's no other choice in the matter. It's just, why are we arguing this? What's the argument?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I feel like this is really not new though. Like, this is something I want to say since 2012 it's been kind of going this direction since 2012, which was wow 12 years ago now. I know, like, everything's just much more politicized. People make it about politics rather than the actual issue on hand. I don't know. For me, it's like nothing new. I stay out of touch with these kinds of things because I don't like wasting energy on it anymore. Like, I think you and I, when we had our old podcast, what was that? Forgot what it was. Under the Sea. I think I was a lot more charged there, but now I really don't care. I stay
it's good you
down.
don't.
Like, I don't really care. I don't know who Ava is. I barely watch Dr. D anymore anyway, and say, all right, fuck that. But it's like, outside of that, I don't stay in touch. You know, it's like, it's just a waste of energy.
Look, I'm glad you don't, because I'll just say it, John. When you were a person that you were into politics, you were a very angry person. I think you're happy to admit that it just makes you an angry person because
it still makes me. I just avoid it now because I don't want to.
It's all misinformation, right? Like, everyone's lying. It's just yeah. But this is craziness. This is craziness, though. Like,
but it's not new. I think that's my point. This is nothing new in the craziness, Mike. It's been crazy since you and I met. Like, 2017 was a crazy time. 2018, 2019, 2020. It's always been this bad. It's I don't think there's an alarmist sense of that it's getting worse. It's been bad, guys. Maybe some people are just recognizing now how badly ostracized politically everything is, but it's been that bad. I just stay out of it. You know, I think that's the best. Stay out of it. Take the moral stance. Don't bother with the politics of it. And just, if it gets political, stay out. Fuck it. Why get angry over two internet celebrities that have been outed already? What's the point going further than that? It's like
It's not. It's
Wow.
not that I'm trying to out them out more. I'm outing out more so the rubbish between these political sides. Like, why can you like? I'll say the names, Jonathan. Pokimane. What's the other ones? I don't
know.
watch these people. There's
know.
Pokimane and the other girl Rayla or whatever. Like, they're calling out one person, but they won't call out the next person. That's my problem. And you and I, we're people on the internet. We're not big people on the internet, but we're here,
Yeah.
so we're going to talk. It's just I just don't understand. As a father of a daughter, I can't comprehend how you can say this pedophile's okay, this pedophile not okay.
It's just the way people think now. You know, it's I don't think it's even how people think. I think it's just a very American way of looking at the world politically. It's just how it is there. I'll say it outright. It's a very American way of thinking.
Spread, man. It's spreading. I'm telling you, it's spreading, man.
Yeah, no, I mean, I see that politicization in the Philippines. I see it all over Southeast Asia. It's not something I want to partake in. It's something that I avoid because I'm tired. I talk about the same politicization in 2017. No one cared. I don't care anymore now either. It's like, do what you want. You want to yell in the streets about your moral stance on this person, but not the other person who does the exact same thing. Oh, okay, I'm done. You shout to yourself. I'm not your audience anymore. I'm out of that picture. You know, it's like, whatever. And it doesn't change anything. It doesn't. You're preaching to the choir every single time. And that's it. It's worthless energy, man. It's a waste. It's a waste of energy. It's like,
it is. But the thing that bothers me as a father now is that there are actual victims out there. Like, while it does feel like you're screaming to avoid at this point, but it's like, well, at what point does this, like, how many people are going to get called out before this becomes a big deal? Like, these are the most vulnerable people in our society, Jonathan. You don't get much more vulnerable than children. It's concerning to me. It's really, really, because what's the repercussions now for both those people? Like, what's the repercussions? Dr. Disrespect, he goes offline, never goes online again. But millions of dollars, never gonna have to work a day in his life, still gonna have his circle of friends. Maybe he's a bit more private now. Who the hell cares? He was always in a disguise anyway. And then the other one, like Ava, it's like is there repercussions? That's my, like, they lodged an apology. Like, that's enough. An apology. Maybe we should stop talking because I'm gonna start saying some really great. Go on, John. What is it? You got something to say?
No, like I don't know. I just see it in the periphery of my Twitter. I saw whoever was the initial person he contacted says it's all fault. Look, I don't know. I don't know if there's any legal thing with him, with her. I don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
All I know is, like, the big issue that seems to be from their stance supporting an artist who has been pretty disturbed. But
I see.
That seems to be the main issue. I don't keep up with his stuff. It's worthless. Like,
it is worthless. It is. It's rage bait.
I think overall, like, you as a parent, I understand where you're coming from having your own kids. I think your concern should be more of, like, I think most parents would have should try to ground that world instead of like a world problem, just ground it into your own periphery. As I get a phone call on my PC, I hate this Windows feature. Why would I get a phone call? I think anyone listening to in the car on this podcast, if there's anyone out there, you've just thought your phone rang. But I think it's important to just ground that into yourself. You know, it's like, you know, this highlights the importance, I think, of the right age to have the internet, of supervision on the internet. I think that's something that the past two generations has had it pretty bad. I think we were one of the generations where our internet use, because you had to pay a scratch card every time you turn on the dial-up, it was much more monitored until we were like in our mid-teens, right? And I think you lack that sort of supervision because kids are just being fed their tablets from age 5. They're being thrown there on YouTube Kids, which YouTube Kids has its own issues. It has some weird-ass content that's labeled for kids on YouTube Kids. Like, parents have to be a little bit more proactive to prevent these kinds of circumstances. They shouldn't be on social media. Like, kids should not... Twitter's sign-up rules are like 13, I think. You shouldn't even be on that. You shouldn't be on Facebook. Your kids, especially, this is a very big prevalent issue in the Philippines. Parents make social media accounts for the kids, which is fine.
Oh.
It's fine. I think they should not give the kid any actual social media until they're like at least 15. At that point, they're at least maybe a little smart enough to figure out something's iffy, you know? They should not be, we should not have a perpetually online generation raised by Twitter, YouTube Kids, and Facebook from age 5. That's just not healthy.
Well, why do these parents make it for their kids? Like, I don't understand. Is this like
they make it to post kid pictures, you know, baby pictures, toddler pics, that's it. Yeah. No. So the kid's not going to want the social media anyway after. Isn't that smart? Like, imagine they become teens and like, oh, here's your Facebook. They'll just never use it.
That's a good point, actually. That is actually a thing. Maybe I'll make my daughter one right now.
Hell yeah, you should. Post all Al's pictures. Act like Al. Me taking my first steps. That's the cringiest part to me. But it's so cringe that the kid will never want to touch that damn cursed page ever. Ever.
I mean, you know what? I complain about the kids on the internet, but I suppose the thing is, like, if I was to let my kid play Dota, it's like, what am I exposing her to at a young age?
Oh, you're exposing her to some real degenerate stuff, Michael Phoenix. You would be exposing her to some real degenerate stuff. I don't know if it'd measure up to Australian insults anyhow, so you might be fine. I think Australians, they have a higher tolerance for that kind of stuff, Mike.
Yeah. I wonder, because like you and I, we've seen the progress of the internet over the years. You know, we're both 90s kids, so it's like, you know, you talked about the old school dial-up and the scratch cards and whatever else you used to get. I just wonder where it's all going now. Like, because it just feels like the internet's becoming more and more less, like, it's becoming less and less appealing as time goes on. It feels like to me. Like, what is it?
No, go on. Finish.
I was going to say, my time on the internet feels like it's becoming less enjoyable, and I don't necessarily want to think that that's because I'm just getting older, but I just don't trust anything I see anymore on this internet. Like, it just is this, like, I log onto Twitter, right, or X, right, and I go start scrolling through the feed, and I'm just like, is this a bot or not? Because it just seems so, like, I go on Reddit and I read some posts, and it just, some of the things I read I can't believe. There's no way people like think like this. It's got to be like bots, right?
I think there's a couple of tools, especially on Twitter. Just mute accounts, especially like news accounts. Yeah, mute accounts. If there's an ad, just mute it, so you don't like it. If there's like this is how I curated my Twitter to just be anime memes and memes in general, and it's been really good. It's been really good. I find a lot of dank stuff and cute pet pictures, you know, stuff like that. That's all I get on Twitter. And Dota. Yeah. That's it. And esports stuff. You have to curate it, because if you let the internet run wild, you'll just get bullshit thrown in your face. You have to prune it, Mike.
So someone's called it out. Like, my cousin gave their child a new cell phone as birthday gift, and he's only 4 years old. I've seen that happen.
Yeah.
And it's just weird to me. It's like, why are you giving them a phone at the age of like 5 years old? It's just so weird to me to see that.
It's so dumb.
I attended some parent stuff as well recently. I got to tell you, John, I'm kind of worried about our kids' generations. I go to some parent events where they're meant to be like playing with their kids or watching their kids or, you know, drawing with their kids or something. Like, you're meant to be showing your kid to do something, right? The whole point is the kid's the priority. And so what happens is you go to these events and they send their kids off to do whatever, and they just sit there on their phones the whole time. Yeah. And I'm sitting there being like, well, hold on a minute. These kids have no idea what they're doing. Like, you've dropped them off and you've gone and sat at a table, and now you're gonna doom scroll on your phone for the next 2 hours.
Yeah.
While your kid wonders why their mum and dad are on their phones. It's insanity.
Yeah.
I went to a relative's house. They recently had a kid. Everybody but the baby was on their phone.
Yeah.
The baby was crawling around the house. Nobody was watching it. Everybody was on their phones. The baby could have literally picked up a knife and done whatever. It's just we're living in a crazy world, John. We're going. I don't know where we're going. It's craziness.
You know what it is? I think, again, I don't think this is. I thinking about it now, I think it makes sense. I don't think there's a rise in bad parentage. I think a lot of people were always bad parents. I think it's just more, it's easier to see it now because they're out there on their phone. Back then, what was a bad parent going to do? Back at home, just drink away while their kid's running around. You wouldn't see it.
That's true.
Now, they're in public, they can just ignore their kid. They don't even have to keep their eyes on. They have something to do, you know? I think it's just easier to see it, but I think statistically, and this is a very sad thing to admit, I think a lot of people are just bad parents. I don't
Yeah.
think a lot of people are actually meant to be good parents, and I think it's pretty fucking sad. I think it's really fucking sad, but it explains a lot. It explains a lot why people are so fucking messed up.
Well, this is a topic I feel like we could actually talk about as well now, because it feels like a lot of the Dota players are approaching or have approached that age where they're becoming parents now. So it's like I feel like a lot of people can relate to these topics. It's wild, man, because I don't know what the next generation of kids are going to look like now. Because, you know, it's like, what do they have to look forward to? Their parents ignore them and just sit in their phones all day looking at Facebook. The world's like on fire. Like there's wars going on left, right, and center over nothing. There's like the money's being printed non-stop. Like the value of money is going downhill every single day. Like in Australia, this is an extreme example, but in Australia, like there is nothing for a kid to look forward to. I feel so sorry for my daughter. So like there's no way she's going to be able to purchase a home. You know, education looks messed up. I took my wife to the hospital last night. I'm a bit tired right now. I took her to the hospital. We were waiting there for hours and nothing happened. Nothing happened. Everybody just looks lost. Like I feel like our kids are screwed, dude. There's no way like this. I don't know, man. It just feels like nobody gives a shit about the next generation anymore. It's all about me, now. That's what it feels like, right? And it's felt like that since my parents' generation. I want to say my grandparents' generation, your grandparents, at least in Australia, I want to say that's the generation that was last to give a shit about the next generation, because it really does feel like the generation before us really just didn't fucking care. Because I gotta tell you, we're in a real bad mess now, John. The money becomes lower value every day. There's no one can afford a house in Australia. Like they're like 1 mil plus, no matter where you go. You know, jobs are going like the number of jobs it's going down. Like I just don't get it. Like what is this new generation got to look forward to in 5-10 years? I just don't see it.
I feel like that's where my views are very different. I don't think this is unique. This is not a unique time in history. The stakes might be higher, relatively higher, but I think this notion, I would agree that our grandparents' generation were different, but that was because they also went through probably the worst war. Very specifically, I think maybe Australia felt it less, but the Philippines definitely felt it much more upfront. And I think any of the war-torn countries felt that. So I think the greatest generation, which was, around the 40s, the people in the 1940s that were around 20, were definitely a different breed. But I don't think it's unique to this generation, to any future generation either. The so-called greed in the past. 1800s, you were just basically stuck in a system of greed. And then, 1800s, you were industrializing. A new class of greed was being born, the bourgeoisie and the industrialists. Before that, you were just born into a greedy system with hierarchies, fiefdoms, feudalism, all of that stuff, serfdom. I think it's always been bad in that sense. I think it's fair to say, like, okay, no one can afford a home right now, things are bad. I think it's a very defeatist attitude to take that there's nothing left. It's like this alarmist tone. I don't think it's, again, it's not unique to this period. Like years ago, what were the alarms raised about in 2002? Terrorism is going to end the world. Terrorism, they're going to bomb everything. Philippines put up a lot of inspections everywhere, checkpoints to go out of your city, checkpoints to go into your city, checkpoints to go to the airport. Going into the airport, into the departure area had a different checkpoint. It's like there was a scare about everything all the single time. I think what's important is to, again, like, shrink that down to your worldview. Is your world on fire immediately? Is there anything that you can do to, there's no need to always be under pressure about what's happening in the world in the greater sense. I think it's you just look at your own life. What can you do to make it better? Sure, you can't afford a house. Well, what can we do now? How can I prepare my child for a future where a house is going to be $1 million? Is there anything to be done? Maybe we should just, have a room for her here. Maybe she should get ready to rent, to teach her finances. I don't know. Like, stuff like that, like housing prices. Like, you and I can't affect the economy to that scale. So what's the point worrying? Like, if it crashes even further, then so be it. We're still going to live. We will have to live. It's not we will have to, no matter what. So I think it's just about, like, take it as it will and find a way. I think that's just the way life is. Sometimes it's shit, but there's no point feeling shit about it being shit. It's already shit. The least you can do is not weigh it down on yourself, which is it's rich coming from me, because I'll be honest with you, I've been very depressed, going back to like casting and shit. It's not been a happy year. It's not been a happy year with all of the shit happening in esports commentary, right? But at the same time, literally, what can you do? What can you do? Are you gonna make it worse by just feeling like shit lying around? Nah. Yes, we might as well find something. Try to think about what to do, figure out what to do. So it's like, I get it though. Like, I get that things are bad. Things are really bad. But at the same time, can you and I do something to affect housing prices, to increase job demand at this moment? No, not really. It's out of our hands.
It really is like kind of. I had this thought to myself recently, like the absurdity of life, right? We're gonna get a little bit philosophical here, not related at all. But like it's life is so absurd, isn't it, Jonathan? I had this thought when I visited the Philippines. We did our food content. Obviously, it hasn't been posted yet, though. If anyone's wondering,
I think
soon.
Okay, I'll segue to that a bit. We have most of our first week of content planned, like 2 weeks. I'm just wanting one more video, and then I think we can start rolling. So just a heads up. Soon. Yes.
Yeah.
But back to your point, we were in the Philippines,
We went to the Philippines. The first city I visited was Davao, right? Because I was like, all right, we'll start with Davao, and we'll go to Cebu, and we'll go to Manila straight after, right? And I couldn't help but notice. You know me. I would argue, I'm not going to go into it, but you would say Mike's had a very interesting life, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of interesting things happen to me regularly, right? Like a lot of things that you would say are pretty insane, like just life events, family events, whatever, right? And then I came to the Philippines and I walked into your home, and it really did humble me very, very quickly, because I was like, how absurd is life that John gets born here, I get born in Australia, right? So John's third world country, I'm first world country, and it's like, I'm complaining that all these horrible things happen in my family, and mother tried to kill herself, dad's an addicted gambler, whatever, right? Like it just keeps going, right? And then I walk into your room, right? And it's just the amount of space you have is so small, right? It's like I was like, how can I be upset anymore when I'm seeing that this guy literally can't roll his chair backwards because his bed will get in the way? Like you literally can't. There's no space. You've got like half a meter of space behind you, if anything. I was like, how am I going to be mad? And then it dawned on me as well, and I said this to you in your house. I'm like, where's the air conditioning? And you're like, oh, we don't use it. The air conditioning never gets turned on. And it's like 90% humidity outside or some shit. And I'm like, so you're telling me that you sleep in this humidity in like 40-degree weather, And it's like you just have the fan on, and it's just, if the fan's good enough, it's good enough, and if it's not, fuck you. You learn to deal with it. Enjoy, enjoy the humidity. It's like, what an absurd, like how absurd, and that's not even as bad as it gets. Because right now across the world, there's kids that are in war-torn Palestine right now. They're just like, they're in some crazy fucking world right now that we could never even imagine. And it's like, how absurd is everything? Like what? It makes you think, what's the point of anything, right? Because it's like, what's the point? Like, it's like, all right, you and I, we had this ambition to be the best casters in Dota 2. Does it really fucking matter? It just doesn't, does it? It just doesn't matter, Because there's, like I said, there's some poor kid in the Middle East somewhere that's just trying to hide from fucking bombs being dropped on his head. Like, it's just, and then like, even if I succeed in my ambition, it's like, so if John's living in a position like that, what are other Filipinos living in? Like, what are poorer Filipinos than John living in? And then I saw it when I went there, and I was like, holy shit, this is insanity. I saw a dude, to just give you guys an idea of what I saw, a dude in the middle of fucking Manila, or was it Cebu, one of the two, and they, like, their house, they had a little stall, and by stall I mean it was like a meter by a meter. And above it, there was a little staircase. I don't even know how he fit up the staircase. But there's a little staircase and there's a bed, right? And I could see rain dripping into his bed. And I'm just like, this is so fucked up. Like, this guy, this is his store, and that's his livelihood upstairs. And it's like a couple of planks of wood stopping him from getting completely drenched by rain. Like, what an absurd, like, how absurd is life? Like, to think that, like, like just by luck, you're born in a position that you can prosper.
Yeah.
And if you got unlucky, which is a very high likelihood when you consider the numbers in particular countries, like you just shit out of luck.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's funny because I feel like this is where, again, like, it's that matter of looking at the bigger picture versus looking at your immediate surroundings. And I think that's a very Filipino mindset, but I don't think it's uniquely Filipino. I think Filipinos love to pride themselves on, like, right now, you know, I don't know if you've seen it, there's floods in Manila, right? Like, very bad fucking floods, like a typhoon, but it wasn't even a typhoon. It was just strong rain. So, you know, it's pretty bad. People are doing, you know, freestyle swimming through the floods. People posted pictures in DLSU. And, you know, it's a disaster. I don't know if people have died. Hopefully not. Certainly people displaced. No power, no internet for a few days. But the overall vibe, and again, this is like, I think, very culturally Filipino, but not uniquely Filipino. Certainly very associated with Filipino culture, is we joke about. You know, it's like, all right, it's flooding. What do? Do you panic? Do you cry about your furniture lost, your electronics broken? No, you go swim. Which I will say, don't swim in a flood. Leptospirosis is real. But, you know, it's like, you just do what you can. You know, it's flooded up to your chest. Guess what? Now you can float a bowl of chips around, float a bowl of beer around, drink around like you have your own drinking pool. You know, it's like, you make the best with what you have, is, I think, how a lot of people here live. And to your point about, like, my room, I want to preface that for me, I mean, I understand it's small. At the same time, relative to everything else I've seen, I know I'm in a privileged position. You know, I didn't grow up, I grew up kind of hard. The apartment, if you'd believe it, the apartment I grew up in until I was like 12 is basically half of my home, maybe 1/3 of my home. So it was a very small space for like 4 people, but I know that this house is honestly a pretty big blessing compared to that, right? So it's all about perspective. And I think you were asking, like, what's the point of anything? What's the point of getting anything done? Or what's the purpose of life? I'm not the most religious guy. You know, I'm a Catholic, but it's not like I'm doctrinally very Catholic. You know, I don't really care for the church too much. Sorry, Pope, but I don't care about, like, the church pushing its agenda and shit. I do feel like life basically boils down to what you make of it. You know, you could be drawn the shittiest hand in the world. You could be the poorest dude in a war-torn area. But if you find a way to be happy, does anything else matters in absolutes? Even if you stay poor? I mean, I'm not saying we should keep people poor. I think every Filipino should have better everything. Better housing, better sanitation, better electric maintenance and shit. But again, in your own personal little bubble, your own little snippet of the world, as for each of us, is very limited. It doesn't encompass everything. We don't interact with everything. Our world is a very small sphere in comparison. Sure, I think, again, like, the point of it's just what you make of it. Do you want to be happy? Then you can make yourself happy. Even with nothing, you can find something to be happy about. And it's very philosophical, but it's something I've always thought about. And it's just, life is what you make. People always think that nihilism is a very negative thing, that life is purposeless. No, nihilism says life is purposeless, so that's liberating. Find the purpose yourself. God's not going to come down and tell you, oh, this is exactly what I need you to do. A man in presidency is not going to tell you, oh, this is exactly what you need to do. No, you figure that out yourself. What do you want? You know, what will make you happy? Can you pursue it? Okay, no. What will immediately make you happy? What will sustain you to be happy? You know, it's all about that, I think. And yeah, that was surprisingly deep. I didn't expect to go that far, but that's like my take on, like, life. Like, you can, like, Filipinos are really good. I love pointing here because it's so easy, because you see the happiest people on the streets, they have literally nothing. You know, they make, like, they're lucky to make $5, $10 a day. Some people. Yeah. And they're the happiest folk. They're the most welcoming. They'd give you everything. You become a guest in their house, they'll give you all the food you need. They'll give you a room, even if they have to give their own room up.
It was very welcoming. The Philippines, I must admit, they are very nice people. You do tend to see that the poorer people tend to be a lot more welcoming than the wealthy. You know, it's that's kind of the way the world works, it seems. Reminds me, actually, I remember there was you didn't see me do this because I know you would have been very annoyed, but there was two kids outside the what shopping center was it we were at? We were at a shopping center at some point, I think you and I, and there was, I think it might have been Mall of Asia, actually, in Manila. I'm pretty sure. And there was two kids, and they were like, you know, put their hands out for money. And I was like, you know what, screw it, you know, like they're just gonna make these kids' day, so I gave them 1,000 pesos each, right? And just seeing how happy they got, it was just feels so good, you know. It's like, man, it's like 1,000 pesos for me is nothing. It's like whatever. It's like another. I can't even go buy a Big Mac meal with that much, you know. It's just as sad as it is. I just can't do that if I convert it back to Australian, you know. In fact, I'd need about 1.5 times that. So it's, you know, it's just, it was kind of just nice to see how happy they were to just be like, oh wow, this idiot gave us 1,000 pesos. Might be, you know, they looked like they thought I was a dumbass, like I didn't know what I was doing, you know. But it was just nice to see how happy they were.
Yeah, no, I think that's sweet of you, Mike. But yeah.
Oh, you would have gotten so upset.
Mainly because I don't want to encourage behavior. At the same time, I can't fault them. You know, I'm a very weird guy where it almost sounds like I'm hedging my bet every time. It's like, oh, I see this point, but I see this point, and it's not because I want to be in the middle. It's because legitimately I just see it that way. So it's good. It's good overall. And I think that was Mall of Asia. I think that was in APAC Predator, right? I think I know. I think I know. I think I do remember. I do remember.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, life is just what you make of it, Mikey. No, again, this is a very weird point, but I think one worldview that really led me to this kind of thinking was this game called The World Ends With You, where it's like, oh, all of these things all of these things happening in the world, it's gonna end with me. It's like, no, your world begins with you. It's only how far you interact with it. You know, the world doesn't end with you. All of this is not happening to fuck around with you. You're just part of the world. The world begins with you, and it's down to you to try to interpret it in the way you want. And yeah, I know it's harder to do, but for me, it's rich coming from me because I've been really depressed about you know this. I've not been the happiest lad this year, but yeah, that's my view.
On a final note, right? Yeah. You know, I think we've already dragged out this podcast long enough. On a final note, because you have been depressed, Jonathan, and some bad things have happened in the casting scene for you in particular this year. When are you going to talk about it? Because, you know, there comes a point where I think you've got to bring it up publicly because it's like, you know, there's money involved, John, and a lot of it. So when are you going to bring it up?
I don't know. Like, so the situation as it stands is basically it's a secret everyone knows about. It's just some talent have talked about it. Some Filipino players
talk about it now. I'm just
letting you know. I'm just saying, for me personally, they've given me a timeline. It's not a good timeline, let me tell you.
Okay.
But they've given me a timeline. I'm like, this is probably my final straw, which means probably next year. You know it's a bad timeline, but probably next year. That's really sad to say, but that's when the final straw falls. Yeah, so. Right. It'll be next year. Yeah, isn't that great?
Yeah. Fantastic.
What can you do, eh?
Yeah. What can you do? June 39th. Exactly. June 39th. That's when you'll get it, John. Don't you worry. Oh, thank you. We appreciate the compliments. Yeah, I do like, you know, it's nice to see people I get depressed too, Jonathan. It's nice to see the people listening are happy to what they're hearing. You know, I saw while we're talking about depression, something depressed me last night. Yeah. I was on Reddit, and I was perusing Dota 2 as always, and I couldn't help but notice a post about the fact that ESB is not hiring Western talent, and it's basically just going to be community casters. What we were talking about earlier, and there was I probably should like actually find the guy's name because he's a brand new caster and it's like it's not his fault. But so some guy said, hey, I'm going to be doing community streams on my stream. I'm an Australian caster. I'm brand new. Here's my stream, you know? Just look at my profile, you find the stream. And then somebody responded to this guy saying, cool, just don't be like the other Australian caster. And it's like, why do people have to be like this? Like, what does that mean? Are you unhappy with the product I'm providing? is it a racial thing because I'm clearly not Anglo-Saxon, white, Australian? You know, like, can we just be, you know, I've always been of the opinion that if you're going to be racist, you may as well just be outright racist, right? Just say it how it is. Because otherwise, some dumbass like me has to go think about it and be paranoid and be like, okay, what did he mean by that? Because there's only, the other Australian casters are me and Aries and Danong, but Danong's not a play-by-play, he's an analyst, and you've got Fluke as well. Go on, John. What is it?
I have a counterpoint. Maybe he was memeing about, Mr. Gone, Mr. Good Old. He could have been saying, "Don't be like that other child," I think that's the very deep end of the meme. It's a very like digging deep for the meme, but it could be he's like, "Don't be like that other guy."
Shit, you're right. Oh, now I feel like an idiot. Well, this goes back to your philosophy, doesn't it? It's like, is this really your problem? It's like, I guess it wasn't. I guess the world doesn't end with you, but I adopted the problem, didn't I, Jonathan?
Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go. Perfect example. Look at that. Perfect timing. I thought that was the main character, Jonathan. That's the problem.
Yeah, no. It happens, but yeah. Like, it's funny because the first thing I thought was he wouldn't be talking about Mike because they would just call you out. Don't be like Michael Phoenix. And if someone really hated you, they would bother remembering your name. Yeah, don't be the other guy.
Yeah, the other guy. I'll be honest, I find it hard to even remember that guy's Aussie because it's just so un-Australian. Like, to me, it's just like sexual assault, like especially against women. Like, you speak to any bloke in Australia, like any real man, and they'll just be like, come on, bruh. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? I don't know. It's just, I just forget he's Aussie. Like, it's like I've already on behalf of the country, I've kind of said he's not. Sadly he's been exiled. He's not coming back. He's the UK's problem now. He's England's problem.
The reverse colony. The reverse colony sweep. Yeah. But yeah, I mean that's a funny story and that's a funny way to close it out, Mike. Anything else you'd want to say before you run back to good old Al? Who, by the way, I will just update. I know you don't want to post stuff of her, but I feel like people have to see how big she is. She's not 1. You sent me a picture. She was here. She looks like she's 5 now. Last time she looked like she was 3. She looks 5 years old, Mike. What's happening?
Yeah, she's huge. And I haven't announced this, have I? All right, I may as well say it. I mean, my wife's pregnant again. I'm having another daughter. Yay!
Congratulations!
Yay! Congratulations! Yeah. So, I'm having a second daughter who looks bigger than the first one. So,
I've always wanted to ask you, Mike. And I know we've had candid conversations, joking conversations, like, what happens if it's a girl? Well, I guess we'll try again until it's a boy. So am I expecting a third pregnancy for Tia next time?
That's the thing. Like, as soon because we just did a gender reveal a week ago, and as soon as it came out, it was a girl. I'm going to call my wife out. She was very upset. She was that. Those classic people you see on like YouTube shorts and TikTok, and they're just like, you see the pink color come out, and the dad just throws his hat on the ground, and he's like, F this and whatever else. That was basically her, and I just couldn't. I was like, what's wrong with you? Now, I like having daughters, so I was very happy because good daughters, they take care of their dad, right? Like, who gives a crap about having a son? I'd rather have daughters. It's easier for me to deal with girls than it is to deal with another man, right? So it's. I was happy, but the wife, she was horribly toxic about it. Horribly toxic. Thankfully, I have recorded everything, and I will be showing my daughter in the future how her mum reacted upon hearing that it was a girl. So it should be very, very fun.
Oh, that's such good news, Mikey. I can't imagine 2 Alteas, 1 Al and 1 bigger Al. I cannot. Bro, I just can't. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, this kid's gonna be big. It's like, I'm telling you, I'm starting like a rugby, like a female rugby squad. I got one coming. Trust me, it's happened.
You know what, Mike? With your luck, if you guys keep trying for a son, I think you'll hit 5. You'll have enough for a pro team, a Dota team. Knowing your luck, fingers crossed. Hopefully not, but knowing your luck, Mikey, you never know. You might be destined for 5. Oh, goodness.
On that note, I gotta say, it's fucking, it's I guess on an ending note, if you're thinking about, if you're someone out there that's currently thinking with your partner, maybe we should have kids, and you're contemplating whether it's worth it or not, or maybe it's a little bit scary because you can't afford shit and whatever else, it is probably the most worth it thing I've ever done. Like having kids. I can't believe I'm ever saying that, because if you asked me 10 years ago, I would have told you I never want kids. But it is probably the most like beautiful experience that I'll ever go through. I would really, even if you can't afford it, I would say do it. It's really that, like, I don't think you should miss out. It's really life-changing. So I would recommend it if you can do it.
Yeah, it changes you, you know, and it's been nice seeing it. Honestly, it's been kind of cool watching you grow as a dad, Mikey, just a little bit every time. You know, it's kind of cute. So congratulations, Mikey, and thank you for taking the time for coming back for another episode of John X Mike podcast. Thank you everyone for tuning in, everyone of you guys on chat, and for you guys on YouTube or Spotify listening in. Thank you again for wasting your time to pay attention to two idiots talking about nothing. It's John and Mike. We'll catch you all next time around. See you guys. All right, that's the recording ended. Let me just jump onto camps to say goodbye. Thank you again, everyone. Thank you, Larry, John, Avena, X Lestat, Bila. I can't say that name, my man, but thank you for coming in. Keldots, Belize, McNeil, Cap, B-Cop, Foberos, XL Stat, Xenon Blood, everyone else watching, Dragonslave49, Densho Lagusai, Aries, of course. Shout out to everyone who tuned in. And thank you to you, Mikey. Before we close out here, again, the recording's done. Let's see who's live and who we can raid before we close out.
This is raid Lyrical.
Lyrical. I've done too much Sophies. Let's do Lyrical. Raid Lyrical. What's this Twitch? Lyrical Dota.
Lyrical Dota. Oh my god.
Hey, you know, some guys go Lyrical Dotes. Some guys go just Lyrical Cast. You know, I don't know. You guys have fun on Lyrical. Thanks for tuning in again, and we'll catch you guys next time. Goodbye. Alrighty, that's them sent away. And stop streaming. Alright. That's all, Mikey. Thank you very much. That was fun. I'll give you updates if I can land us a gambling sponsor, like very quick.